In this video, I'm going to talk a little bit about how to look through test logs and how to find out why tests are actually failing. So I just ran tests on the OBC that I have connected, and I experienced one failure. So let's dig into the logs and figure out why this failure actually occurred. The way I like to start debugging a failure is I like to scroll up to the actual log output from the test as opposed to the stack trace that it gives you from the test that failed. And I like to do this because it's easy to know which test function it occurred in, and typically the errors that are printed are indicative of why the test actually failed. And they tend to give a bit more information about the specifics around a failure than the stack trace does. So if we look at this, and I had the test up right at the top of the window here, we're sending a bunch of commands, and we received a debug command or a debug logger message, so that's good. But it had this ID of watchdog log. And the error that we're getting is we expected an ID of print general, and we got watchdog log instead. The file line number that's printed here isn't super useful. This is just saying where this error was actually logged from. But what's more important is the actual line of your test that is making this assertion. So we know the problem. We received a log ID that we weren't expecting. And by scrolling down to the stack trace, we can see which line of the test actually caused the test to fail. And it looks like it's the first line of this test, so test OBC and RST. And if we look at this line, either in the stack trace or in the actual code, it's pretty clear what we're expecting is a print general to come back. And we know we got a WD log. So if I set that and save it, and I'll just quit Houston, and I'll bring it up behind the scenes, and I'll run tests again, we should see that everything passes, if we're somewhat lucky. So we're getting a bunch of tests skipped. That's just because I don't have an HTTP connected right now. And the errors that are coming up in those skip tests is the error that when we try to ping the HTTP, it doesn't actually reply because it's not connected. So it looks like all the tests passed, so that's good. We know what the problem is, and the root cause of this issue is that the test was written and then the code changed. The code added this logger ID, so the test was just a little bit out of date. So that's how to look through a log. Just to recap, I like to start by looking for the errors that are printed in a failed test, and then you can go into the stack trace to determine the actual line of the test that caused the test to fail.